What's going on, everyone? It's Jeranism, back with another video for you today. Going to quickly cover the worst globe proof there is, Eratosthenes. And Jed Skeptic Media recently covered this subject, but I feel I have to correct some of the errors. So, Jed, take it away.
How could you prove the shape of the Earth without looking at images from space?
We could look at water. It lies level and flat, always has, always will.
Well, a Greek named Eratosthenes did it 300 years BC.
Ah, man, I'm sorry about that one. He was actually born in 276 BC. So you have him at about 24 years premature, which would be pretty impressive, but I don't think it's the case.
He suspected the world was round. After all, the sun and the moon are round. He also noticed the sun's rays fell in parallel lines.
Oh, really? Did he notice that? Because all their observations would have told them in 275 BC that those beams of sunlight come from a close sun. In fact, Eratosthenes thought the sun was close. So, no way he thought they came in parallel lines.
While looking through a scroll one day, he read that at noon, on the longest day of the year, a vertical column cast no shadow in Syene, a city south of Alexandria. Eratosthenes knew that this did not happen in Alexandria. He thought to himself, how is it possible to have shadows in Alexandria and not in Syene at the same time of the day?
Oh, easy. When you have a small local sun, everything works out exactly the same.
Eratosthenes figured out that the sun must be directly overhead in Syene, but not in Alexandria. Aha! Here was the proof that the Earth's surface is curved.
Wait, what?
Here was the proof that the Earth's surface is curved. That the Earth's surface is curved. Proof.
No.
Proof.
No.
Proof.
No.
He thought to himself, how is it possible to have shadows in Alexandria and not in Syene at the same time of the day?
Alright, so I guess I'll explain it again. If you look here on the screen, we've got Syene and we've got Alexandria, and let's say we've got 500 miles between them, and you'll see the small local sun above the first pillar, which causes the second pillar to have a shadow, yet it's sitting on a plane, not on a sphere.
If the angle was 1/50th of a circle, then the distance around the world must be 50 times the distance from Alexandria to Syene.
Well, Jed, we appreciate it, but Eratosthenes, much like the bottom of your beloved globe, holds no weight. Next, we have a teacher trying to explain this garbage. Make sure you watch right at the beginning here, and you can actually see the moment that he realizes what he's teaching doesn't really make sense at all.
And Eratosthenes realized that if you were to extend this ray of light coming in at Syene, it would go all the way to the center of the Earth, if you were to extend that line. And he realized that if you were to extend this ray of light coming in at Alexandria, it would miss the center of the Earth. But the pole setup, which was vertical, if you were to extend that line, it would go to the center of the Earth.
Well, yes, I guess if you were on a ball, you might have those things happen. So now you can see part of the problem here. When the globe needs parallel rays, they use parallel rays. But as soon as an eclipse comes, well, now they need to use angled rays, as seen in this image. Not too hard to deceive people when you get to set the rules. And for all you who put so much faith into this Eratosthenes character, please take a look at his Wikipedia, which clearly says that it was unlikely, even accounting for his extremely primitive measuring tools, that Eratosthenes could have calculated an accurate measurement for the circumference of the Earth. He made 5 important assumptions, none of which, notice again, none of which are perfectly accurate. Number 1, the distance between Alexandria and Cyrene being 5,000 stadia. Number 2, that Alexandria is due north of Syene, which it's not. Number 3, that Syene lies in the Tropic of Cancer, which it doesn't. Number 4, that the Earth is a perfect sphere, which it's nowhere near. And number 5, the light rays emanating from the sun are parallel. So even Wikipedia, your go-to holy book, admits it. Alright, what I hope people notice by researching this stuff is that clearly you have to give up your belief in Eratosthenes and most of his evidence. Also, you need to realize that your religion is as bogus as Joseph Smith and his golden plates. So let's start the final nails into the coffin. Number 1, Eratosthenes was the head librarian and scholar at the Library of Alexandria around 250 to 200 BC. We also have Heron the Elder from Alexandria, not many years after Eratosthenes, and he also lives and was from Alexandria. Now, he wrote many books, and people have praised him many times over. However, he never, and I repeat never, mentioned Eratosthenes. Also, they both studied the same subject. So there's no way that somebody would not know about the head of the Library of Alexandria. Not when they are studying the same subjects. If you've ever looked into the Earth measurements or anything at that time, you would definitely have come across Eratosthenes. Unless, of course, things were written in 1600, and then you're going to have a hard time getting all your P's and Q's and things lined up. So certainly what it seems like happened. All right, we move on to number 2, which was the geography, as Eratosthenes is considered to be the inventor of geography, and he measured Earth's rotundity, yet this is his map. Yep, that's his map, with longitude and latitude as straight boxes. So if anybody was going to draw a map that was representative of reality, since he knew it was a sphere and he knew the size, why do we have this map as the best map he ever produced? Something's fishy there. Now let's move on to number 3. He actually wrote on many topics, including geography, mathematics, philosophy, chronology, literary criticism, grammar, poetry. Unfortunately, there are only tiny little fragments left of his work, so Eratosthenes is nothing more than a myth, a legend. You can add him to the other gods that science worships, like Newton, St. Copernicus, and St. Galileo, and St. Einstein. Alright, so the coffin is almost done. It's almost sealed. We're on to number 4. Have you ever heard of Dio? D-I-O. Well, many people only want to see peer-reviewed papers, so here you go. This is the International Journal of Scientific History, and what I'm about to tell you will shatter your little worship fest with Eratosthenes that every heliocentric fan seems to have. So let's get into the journal here. So to begin the journal, they first set out to show that there's no possible way that Eratosthenes had anything to do with measuring the circumference of the Earth, and if he did, he simply took numbers from earlier writers, and knowing the actual radius of the Earth, or at least what was believed at that time for those who believed in the ball, it was very easy for him to come up with a circumference, and no test needed to be done. They show a couple things here. They also show, and this will be the shocker, amongst other things, but the first one is that Eratosthenes had the sun 12 times smaller than the Earth. All right, now we're on page 2 of the journal. You can also go online, look up DIO, science journals. You can find all the past issues, and they're all free, and they make absolute great finds. This one in particular going on and saying that Eratosthenes couldn't have possibly been the one who did this trick, and they've all but proven it because of things like his distance to the moon. He had that at 780,000 stadia. And I'll tell you what that comes out to in a moment. All right, so number 5 and 6 are, again, that Eratosthenes thought that the moon was 780,000 stadia, and thought that the sun was 4,080,000 stadia. Now, you could just take each of those and divide it by 1,000 to get what Eratosthenes thought he was seeing. Isn't it weird that we get 780 miles for the moon and 4,080 miles for the sun? A little bit interesting to get those distances in miles. Now, for flat earthers, isn't it interesting that we get a distance of 780 miles for the moon and just over 4,000 miles for the sun from Eratosthenes? There's no reason why his name should be brought up ever again. So globe believers, teachers, intellectuals, it's basically time you drop the Eratosthenes myth. You're holding on to another religious dogma, and quite frankly, it's kind of embarrassing. It has been thoroughly debunked. It cannot be considered proof any longer of the globe. And if for some reason you think that it hasn't been debunked, well, please watch the screen now, because if these events actually happened, if he actually did measure this so-called distance around the Earth with these sticks and the sunlight, well then at the very least, the absolute very least, you would have to admit, as shown here, that a close sun, which is exactly as Flat Earth believes, and a small sun, which is exactly as Flat Earth believes, and a flat Earth, as Flat Earth believes, would yield the same exact results. So the fact that it's brought up continuously is at this point kind of pathetic. So when you say,
Aha! Here was the proof that the Earth's surface is curved.
You just simply sound silly. Eratosthenes.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
So be kind, everyone. Don't lie to each other. And open your mind, because that's where truth is. And this has been Jeranism. Until next time. Peace.